people look at me and go, John, you're a pipsqueak. How are you doing this?
Interesting. So like, how many like boards can you break? So I box. Have you hit the heavy bag before?
Oh, many times, yes. I've done
So,
the shadow
so
boxing.
really, really. So I have a question for you. So like you're I'm so curious about this, like, and it could help me possibly. Like,
Mhm.
your punching power, like, is this stronger than like the average person too? Well, it's weird that we're talking about punches on a spiritual podcast. Like, so yeah, as far as generating power, like, what do you do? You think you need to put more mind intensity to it, or you kind of like have to just like project energy in a subtle way? Could you explain that a little bit? Okay, so today we are here with Mr. John Rahman. He is a what do you call that? Fajin, or like what's like the correct term for the brick breaking skill?
I would just call it just martial arts brick breaking.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes you can refer to it as the Kundalini breaking, but for me, it's just brick breaking or self-defense breaking, we'll call it.
Okay, sure, fair enough. Yeah, some people may call it Fajin. I think Dimmock is like something else. Like it's like pressure point type stuff, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not an expert in those fields. But anyways, yeah, he's like a brick breaking, like, kung fu type of guy, and really, really exceptional with his skill. And that's I wanted to, like, hear his story and ask him how he learned all this stuff. So yeah, so John, how did your spiritual journey begin?
My story started probably when I was about 5 years old, and I was watching Fox 25, and Power Rangers came on for the first time. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, this is so cool. I want to do that one day. You know what? I want to do that to my friends. And my parents were like, no, don't do that to people. You don't hit other people. So I learned about the karate schools around me. And then I saw them doing these demonstrations where they were just chopping blocks and boards. And I'm like, wow, that looks really cool. I want to learn how to do this to show my friends what I can do. And obviously, I got into that for completely wrong reasons at the time. But when I was getting involved in it, it honestly helped me a lot because I was able to stay focused and I found something that I really liked. Even though I had my friends and I had my time with my friends, I was able to find a little bit of an inward journey where I could grow, but still be around people. And they didn't really notice that much of a difference at the time. And it was a really nice transition.
Very cool. Okay. So John is attending the same school that I was attending, and also Dahlia is attending. We spoke about her many times. So yeah, so how did you find this particular school, and how did that training begin for you?
So that came around my days in high school where I was looking online for additional training because I was really interested at the time in going into tournaments, specifically for breaking, as we discussed earlier, and in looking to ways to make the process easier or maybe harness the energy, if you would, for breaking. I found a school online that I enrolled in at the age of, I think, 14 or 15.
Oh, wow.
And in working with that school, I found ways, these small little exercises that helped me get more energy output. And it was great. I started to follow these drills, follow the exercises, and soon enough, I was putting out more energy output. But the weird thing was, I was able now at the age of 17, 18 to go up to a stack of boards or bricks and break the same stack that a really big 35-year-old man could break. And people look at me and go, John, you're a pipsqueak. How are you doing this?
Interesting. So like, how many like boards can you break? Um,
So if I were to go up to a stack now and try that, it's been a while, don't get me wrong, because I'm doing softer drills now. But if I went up to a board or a stack of boards, I could probably do 8 or 9 right now. And the most number of bricks I ever did was 5 or 6 in one go.
F five or six bricks.
Yes.
Wow, that's to me that just seems like a lot, and that just it's hard to wrap my head around that. But man, so I box, have you hit the heavy bag before?
Oh, many times, yes. I've done
So,
the shadow
so
boxing.
really, so I have a question for you. So like you're I'm so curious about this, like, and it could help me possibly. Like,
Mhm.
your punching power, like, is this stronger than like the average person too? You would
From the
say, for like hitting the heavy bag.
Mm. So for hitting the heavy bag, if I'm surrounded by a lot of people, I'm going to pull back because I don't want to show off in public. But if it's just me and I'm hitting the heavy bag, I have ways of hitting it harder than I would in public. And I've learned that as you have this more energy, you relax more because you want it to flow correctly. So a really good strike for me is one that is very, very, very loose into that last possible second. And as soon as that becomes tight at that last moment in time, you have your connection, you have your energy transfer, you have your power.
It's weird that we're talking about punches on a spiritual podcast, but like,
Hmm.
obviously, like, you got to punch with a correct form. You know what I mean? Like, that's how you
Yes,
generate the power when, and obviously, with, like, speed. But like, um, obviously, that's how you generate power, to our understanding. But like, we don't necessarily think about energy, like, some people teach, like, you punch with these two knuckles, and, like, you know what I mean, like, you gotta, I mean, you also gotta, like, defend too, obviously, because it's boxing, but like,
of course.
um but we don't think in terms of energy. Like, some guy goes like shh, shh, or some guys go like "Hua, hua," or some, you know what I mean, like, there's different
Hmm.
sounds they make and stuff, like, I what sound do I make? I'm trying to think here. I don't think I make a sound. I think it depends on how tired I am. I go like "Hua," or something, but like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not much of a sound guy, I think, because I try to focus more on the speed, like, that's
Sure.
just that's because I feel like that's way more important for boxing. But like, as far as generating power, um, yeah, like, so yeah, as far as generating power, like, what do you do? You think you need to put more mind intensity to it, or you kind of like have to just like project energy in a subtle way? Could you explain that a little bit?
Mm. So, in any school that you go to, when you start learning about punching or breaking, they teach you a level of mental intensity, of a little bit of grinding of teeth, a little bit of tensing that fist a little more than you need to be. And that starts to create that extra energy that you need for a break or to produce power. And then you learn, well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to have you relax more so we can work more on overall technique. And this is a great way for younger younger people and people just getting into art forms to really learn about energy for the first time. But it's misunderstood because there's nothing that says that you have to be hard, you have to be firm. You can actually be very soft and very cool and very good about this, and you'll still get similar results. I'll give you an example. I used to go to tournaments for breaking, and I would get really tense, really hot, really hard, and really loud with my shouts. The tournaments would be fine. I'd walk out with a trophy or two, but half an hour later, I'd fall asleep for 4 hours. My last tournament, I changed over to this much softer way where I'm no longer working on being tight. I'm no longer working on mental intensity. I'm working towards the best flow possible, making it feel as good as it can for me so that I'm not hurting myself, but at the same time, I'm not freaking out anyone else. And from that process, I had more energy afterwards. So it was a win-win.
Interesting. Okay, okay. Um, Very interesting. You know, I I hate to ask this, but like, if you were to punch someone, John, it's not nice to hurt people, but like if you were to you obviously hit pretty hard, I'm assuming. Like if you were to hit someone like even in a soft way because of what you're capable of, like, what happens? Like can someone get hurt pretty badly in your
So
opinion?
I'm going to start by saying this. I'm going to do my best I can to avoid that because I don't want to have to hit unless it's absolutely necessary. Just prefacing with that. But when I've done certain drills where connections have occurred, there'll be a burning sensation, a lingering pain, or say I were to strike you on your chest and you have your sweatshirt on. From time to time, my palm print would show up on your body.
Um, very, very interesting. So, in boxing when we spar, like we wear what's called 16-ounce gloves. It's what
Yes.
like heavyweights, wear put on. That's for safety. But even though it's not soft, but I mean, like, in like in fights, we wear like, 8-ounce gloves or 4-ounce gloves, and like so
Hmm.
those MMA gloves, I mean, they really do damage, like
Hmm.
especially to your knuckles too. So I'm not a fan of that. But anyways, um, yeah. So like, being an energy guy and punching, I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can harm others. Because I hear legends of like, certain boxers, like they don't hit hard, but like I hear, like their punches feel like you got hit by a truck or something like that. Like I hear legends like this. And there's guys that are obviously like incredibly fast and, you know, you know, just incredibly fast, and like so if they hit you, like that power like knocks them out and stuff. But
Hmm.
occasionally I hear these like legends of people that seem like they're not doing anything to you, but you go like, oh, like those crazy stories. And I see it in time to time when I'm watching matches, like how that didn't look hard, but the dude went down. um what is a tip for if you can give away to a fighter possibly that's doing this stuff not so nice, but how can they work on generating more power in their punches? Like you know, maybe just not focus on speed so much, but just on like, meditation and maybe kind of energy going through or something. Like I don't know. Like is there any advice you can possibly give as an expert?
Hmm. So, from the physical standpoint, I would always recommend having resistance bands so that when you're punch training and you have the resistance bands in your hand, after you stop using them, your arms are going to move faster naturally because there's no longer any resistance. But from the energy standpoint, there is this way to transfer intent into what you do. So a lot of times in different martial arts, it's referred to as the kia, the shouts that you give off when you make a strike or you want to put your intent of power into a strike. Well, yes, that's good, but when you want to get better, but you don't want to put that power out there to destroy or harm, you can just use your exhale. And using a really nice controlled exhale in your normal strikes will cause you to get exactly what you need. And you won't have as many reflux effects. You won't have as many side effects. You won't be as winded or energy depleted as I used to be.
Interesting. Okay, okay. Um, I hate to bring up my former teacher. I mean, he's still my teacher at heart. Your teacher, he's obviously was a very high level martial artist back in the day. Um, and he's still very fit. I've obviously spoke to him like this. To your knowledge, like, do you know what he was capable of or what he still is capable of when it comes to fudging or this type of stuff? Do you know what he's capable of, or has he shared with you anything before by chance?
So through him is where I learned how to do select striking, where if you have multiple boards or multiple bricks in a stack, you can strike the top of the stack and only break the ones you want to break and keep all the others intact.
Oh, interesting. Um, do you know how many like you said that you could do five or six? Like, do you know to your knowledge how many he can do?
I don't have an exact number for you, but I know it would be far more than 5 or 6. Absolutely, without question.
Far more. I don't want to talk about my teacher a whole lot, but like it's through the students that I hear all these like, incredible stories like, hey, I've seen him do certain things. I've seen him do this and that. And it's like I don't want to say it because it sounds too unreal, like, and we're not talking like about martial arts, we're talking like the spiritual components. Like
Hmm.
it sounds so unreal that I don't even want to get into that too much, because it's
No, of
it's uh
course.
it's pretty crazy and he'll never demonstrate. He'll never like come on my show and then like be interviewed and stuff for sure. But yeah, it's definitely interesting stuff for sure. So obviously, like in this particular story, you mentioned relaxation, like being really yin, if you will,
Yes.
heavily emphasized in the school. Um, yeah. So like yeah, what is your experience with the school? Let's talk about things that aren't like punching or like destroying things related.
Yes.
What are some other like abilities or benefits that you gained from attending the school and yeah, and like how has this like helped you in like real life situations?
So when I really got involved in the school, I would say that was probably back around 2010, 2011. And I started to follow more of the exercises, follow more of the guidelines. And the first thing I noticed right away was that people were getting along with me a lot better. It was like all of a sudden a switch flipped, and my ability to coalesce with everyone and just have a good time with every single person just went through the roof. At the same time, I also noticed, specifically recently, I came off of a trip where I put on a little too much weight. I'm in my mid 30s trying to stay thin again, and I got back into the training. And with the right guidance, within, I would say, 4 to 5 months, I dropped about 50 pounds. And that was a direct side effect of not just training the method, but training the method correctly and allowing my body the time he needed to adjust to all the new levels that I was reaching every time. So that's a health benefit for sure. The other benefit that I'll share was that prior to getting back in, I was dealing with some anxiety, just like anyone else is. Depression comes from time to time. And I found, you know, through this process, through training correctly, letting go of the need to be hard all the time, that taught me to self regulate more, to feel better throughout the day, and to notice that the symptoms of said anxiety and depression just started to go away as I started to follow the rules more closely.
Very cool. So, John, you are a voice actor, and as
Yes.
a voice actor, you have to kind of sometimes play like the crazy evil villain or something like that, and like you maybe have to shout and scream and all this kind of stuff. In this school that you're attending, relaxation in general is like heavily emphasized, and like they even like really emphasize like speaking in a very nice soft tone, like everybody that I know in the school speaks in a very rounded soft tone that's like heavily emphasized. It's like one of the reasons why I love being in that community because I feel so relaxed when I'm around you guys. So
Uh-huh.
it's very nice. So as a voice actor, isn't it kind of like a not the most ideal profession?
So, what you can do as a voice actor is pull certain intent out of your voice so you deliver nothing but the voice, volume, and sound quality without the added oomph or push factor behind it. And you can change your voice into whoever you need it to be for one voice and same energy, or you can be completely different and come at you almost like a narrative from a story. And now you're a different voice. Or maybe you're a disgruntled shop owner who you've just been ripped off by someone. You're going to call the police. Well, guess what? It's the same energy, just different voice.
Interesting. So, like, could you give me like an example? Like, if you were to play like, I'm trying to think of like a villain. Um, okay, if you were trying to play like, who screams in like anime, or like, just any kind of fiction. Come on, I got this. Okay, like the Joker or something. If you were to play the Joker,
Hmm.
um, like, I mean, can it like kind of put you in from into like a yang state from like a very calm yin state?
So playing characters doesn't always mean that you're taking on the mindset of the character. You're just being that person for a different time. I'm not going to do the Joker's voice for you right now, but I'll change my personality for the sake of voice acting for a moment. And I might become a little more menacing, and then all of a sudden my voice just changes, and all you think, "Oh wow, this guy's here to cause some problems or, stir up some issues." But for the sake of my role, I am just talking to you in this manner so that through the sound of my voice alone, I'm here to cause menace and terror. Well, guess what? My energy's still the same. The only thing I've done a little bit is alternate how I deliver my tones. And those tones
Mm,
keep everything feeling really good. If I get rid of those tones and I start doing things, we'll have problems.
interesting. Do people in the school sometimes get like upset or angry, and when that happens, like what happens is that as an energy person, when you get angry, that just it just isn't good. Or like, is there any stories you could possibly share related to that or that
There
you've
are
heard of?
there are times where you have disagreements with people and it's going to happen. And there are times where those who practice energy have disagreements with other people who practice energy. And it does not become the who has the stronger energy, who's king of the mountain. Rather, it's someone's going to be upset. Who can bring that person down the fastest?
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Um, yeah. So, in a lot of ways, like, so do you think being a part of the school has actually helped your voice acting career in a way?
For sure. I learned tone control and I learned how to use my voice way before I became a voice actor. So then when I started looking into it, because of one of my jobs I was in, where they said I should totally be a voice actor, I finally start thinking about it and said, you know what? I've seen this technique before in my training. I wonder if I can just superimpose my training over the voice acting. And sure enough, it worked just like a hitch.
Wow, do you think this can possibly correlate to like, normal acting too? If someone wants to be like an actor, do you think they can possibly translate this as well?
What I'll say to that is different types of acting require different methods. That's why it's called method acting. But when you have the right training under your belt, you're then able to amplify that method or pull back that method to a comfortable point for you, the person who's acting. So it feels really natural for you. And if it feels really natural for you, it's going to be seen and perceived as really natural by the viewer and the audience.
Interesting. Going back to voice acting and like playing a certain character, like, can you even like, play like a drunk person or something like that? Or can you even play like a
Yeah,
like
so
like a, like a drunk, angry drunk dad that's like super aggressive, that's trying to like, hurt someone, like in bar fight scenes and stuff. Like, you can do that as well.
so what we say in voice acting a lot is 70% of the acting you don't get to observe because it's physical body acting, but you're only recording my voice. But in order for me to get my voice to translate the way that I want you to hear it, I have to adapt certain physical characteristics to make that transfer as realistic as possible. So, going back to your point about being a drunk dad, I could slur my speech and, change my voice here and there. And you're like, that doesn't sound drunk at all. That just sounds like a change of voice. When all of a sudden, if I just start to get my body into things and I'm really thinking about what the character is going to sound like and how he's going to behave and how I can get that to transfer into my audience's ears and how I think they'll perceive me, then I'll notice that my body starts to behave differently. I get more animated and I start to feel the effects of what I want my audience to feel. And then I allow the slurring to come in and the techniques to take hold and the non control that a drunkard would have over his emotions at any point starts just to come out of me. And I allow that to carry the rest of the 70% to marry with the 30% and let the audience then experience who I am in that moment.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting for sure. Um, do you think I could translate this kind of same mentality to like we are talking about punching and stuff? Like, um, like I think different, like I was telling you, like different people have different methodologies and different philosophies when it comes to like hurting your opponent. Some people like I'm a firm believer that you gotta like hit hard because you gotta or sorry, not hit hard, hit fast because like if you don't hit fast, like it's not gonna land anyways. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
some people focus on the techniques. Um, but th there's others that just focus on just, like getting close and just swinging on a guy as hard as they possibly can and stuff. And like, you know, um, less technical, more violent, if you will, to those people, like, I wonder, like, do you think they can kind of apply the same kind of methodology? Like, they're being aggressive, but they're also calm, but they're so inflicting damage. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. Long story short, this energy work is done to help increase and build upon your nervous system. So when your nervous system is behaving really well, that means your musculature and all the other parts of your body, your bones, your organs, your musculature, your tissues, your tendons, your ligaments, they're all going to start moving more efficiently and in a better path, all because your nervous system is behaving the way it needs to. So, as your nervous system tells you this is what you need to do, this is how much energy you need to apply. And when I say energy in this case, I'm talking physical energy. And this is specifically how you need to react in this situation. Your energy, your spiritual body, and your physical body together start to coalesce in this really nice way where you can defend yourself should you need to. And you can defend yourself very efficiently.
Very cool. Okay. John, I don't know if you're an expert into I don't know if you're an expert. So there's this concept called the iron body, in like kung fu and like chi work and stuff. Like
Hmm.
basically you can, as opposed to hitting guys, like you're pretty much like immune to like, deadly strikes and stuff. Are you familiar with that concept much at all? And like, is that something that I mean, I'm assuming that's outside of your expertise, or am I wrong?
Oh, I used to practice iron arm, iron chest, iron back, iron leg when I was in my kung fu days many, many years ago. So, we would have, instead of just going out to breaking tournaments where I would put my hand through things, I would stand still, put a certain arm, leg, or my chest out, and have my assistant break a pole over me, like a closet towel. So we have done this before, and this is a little different than striking. This is more of the actual self-defense mechanism, where you are now almost creating what they call an iron shirt or an iron chest, so that the extra energy that you're focusing on is no longer meant to be destructive because I'm not trying to hit anything. It's meant to be protective. And that's almost your first line of defense for when the object comes to hit you. So when it finally does hit you, there's so much extra energy that the object will break and you'll feel hardly anything.
Interesting. You know, my our te you know, my former teacher, your teacher, I remember him saying like, he would be like, "Yeah, you can hit me as hard as you want. I won't feel a thing." And I was like, "Oh, okay. That's really interesting." Are you like that too? Like you can get hit pretty hard and you don't feel much or
I'm at the point where I'll still feel things. I'm not that level. If you hit me that hard, I might start crying in front of you. No, no, I'm kidding. If you hit me, I'll respond, but I'm not going to be like, oh my goodness, you just hurt me a lot. Rather, my spiritual body and my physical body work in tandem with each other. It's a partnership. My spirit guides my body. My body helps bring my spirit where my spirit needs to go. So should I get struck, my body and spirit will respond in a way to minimize that effect.
interesting. Okay, okay. Um, Man, that is very interesting for sure. So whether it's like this iron body or, Fajin, like, breaking bricks and stuff, like, can you, like, do you think there's a limit to this stuff at all? Like, do you think that you can become like infinitely strong at this? Or do you think there's like a limit? Like, what are your thoughts?
Is there technically a limit? No. If your mental state is developed enough and your abilities are developed enough, you could do things that would seem impossible to other people. But at the same time, just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Yeah, I hear these urban legends of like certain like Nigong masters and stuff like they if they hit you they're able to like destroy people's organs and stuff and as someone who practices martial arts, well, I shouldn't say martial arts, like combat sports, that's more the correct term, I would say. As someone who like does boxing and MMA and stuff, like it's like, man, it's so tempting to want to have those abilities because then I can like defend myself and win. But at the same time, it's like if I can get to the point where I can do this stuff, like should I even be fighting, sparring at all? Because it's like I'm just like, you know, I mean, I'm just like seriously hurting people at that point. Like I'm like, I don't know, it just makes me question a lot about this stuff. You know what I mean? Like martial arts, like combat sports, they're great. That's awesome. But at the same time, I mean, you know, it's just kind of it's not so nice sometimes when you rationally think about it. So.
Right. If
Yeah.
When you go into a tournament and you go into a fighting tournament, you're there to have fun ideally and maybe win a trophy. You're not there to try to hurt your opponent. And if you do hurt your opponent, but you mean it all well and you make up afterwards, all's good. But we want to respect our competitors. We want to respect our fellow teammates and we want them to have the best possible experience. And we want to have the best possible experience at the same time.
Yeah, certainly. Well said. Um, this is the last question I want to ask you, John.
Please.
Within this school that you're attending, there's one more common factor that I noticed. Obviously a lot of people super nice, all very gentle, all very like rounded and calm. I love that about that community. Like no matter who it is, everybody's just super, super cool and nice. And recently, thanks to Dahlia, you guys are getting a lot more exposure and maybe, even someone like small like me, like, maybe I'm contributing the word out a little bit more. But one more common denominator that I see is you guys all seem to believe in God. Um, and some people may perceive it as Christianity, and some people are in fact Christians, but could you talk to me about that a little bit? Why is, you know, I should just rephrase the question. Has this system allowed you to find God, or has it allowed you to connect to God better?
I came into the system already a believer, so I already had a pre-established religious belief before I entered. Through the system, through my training, I was able to deepen my faith, deepen my religious beliefs, and find God a little more. And different people are going to believe in God differently. I'm not here to say one method is right over another or one belief's right over another. That's not my place. But speaking from my own vantage point, yes, I have found my relationship with God to strengthen over time as a result of my training, as a result of my need to become calmer, and as a result of stepping away from the heavy side of martial arts, opening up to the yin side of training, and allowing that real spiritual religious lifestyle to take hold. And I wouldn't change it for the world.
Wow. Yeah, and I want to emphasize this too. I mean, obviously we're the people are predominantly um, Americans, so like, maybe Christianity is something that's what we're more familiar with and stuff. But like, I'm not gonna say the person's name, but there is a Islamic guy that we know as well and stuff. And it's religion, like what religion you belong to doesn't matter. But one beautiful thing that I saw in this system was this connection with God. And like I guess you could say I was more of a kind of a new age guy, so to speak, but like being in the school is a real eye opener to me. Like, oh, you can sort of still be doing quote unquote new age practices, or like, you know, Eastern arts sort of practices, and you can still find like, you know, God, you know what I mean, from a Christian perspective almost, or from a Judeo, from like the Western religious side of things, you know what I mean? And that's something that surprised me. And maybe years ago I would have been maybe turned off by that, because like we're taught like, religion is like toxic, or religion is, very closed-minded and things like that. But this school that I briefly attended like really allowed me to like, kind of look at religion and look at like God from a whole nother perspective. So that's something that I really wanted to share with people. And not, but obviously not preaching like religion from a conventional sense. I'm just saying that it was just an eye opener to see, wow, there's a way to look at religion in a totally totally different way, So
Yes.
it was a big eye opener for sure. And I guess we can end at that. John, so you're obviously going to be pursuing voice acting pretty heavily soon. Any goals you have as a voice actor? Do you want to become as like a like a well-known voice actor? You're gonna do you want to play in like mainstream movies or something like that? I mean, as an energy guy, as an energy person, you can probably manifest success at a level that's greater than like the average person. Do you have any goals in voice acting at all?
When I really started to think about it, I really thought about doing cartoons or animated sets, not quite anime, but actual
Oh,
cartoons on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon. Just because there's this vibe inside of the cartoons that just rings true with 95% of me, because at the end of the day, I'm just a big child. I'll be the first to admit it.
yeah.
So
Yeah, you're mentioning Power Rangers earlier. Like, who was your favorite Power Ranger as a grown up?
it was definitely the Red Power Ranger to start, but I just liked Red
Yes,
growing up.
freaking me too. I'm Team Jason over Team Tommy too. So
Yep. So over time though, it changed over to Team Billy.
really,
Really, as I got
oh,
older, it
interesting.
became Team Billy because I'm like,
Oh,
wait a minute,
interesting.
because going back
The
to when we
yin
first
guy, the
started,
blue guy, right? So
exactly,
yeah,
yes, the Yin guy, yes. At the when at the first end of my first episode of Power Rangers, I'm thinking to myself, I'll just solve all my problems through violence. Yes, this is a great idea. No, 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 don't listen to me. Don't listen to that. When I started to change. I'm like, wow, I can really see things through Billy's perspective now. And, going back to the voice question, I would really want to work in advertisements or cartoons or even just, short films where I get to use my voice. And I've had some exposure now where I got to use my voice and my voice is used in a several number of short stories. I would love to see that grow. At the same time, I still want to pursue my everyday life as a scientist. So if both of those keep going the right way, as I pray they do, things would be great. But
Awesome.
at the end of the day, I've realized that in getting closer to God, it's really not what I want. It's really what he has planned. And I'm just here following what he has for me.
Awesome. That's really cool. That's a beautiful message for sure. So, okay, John, well, thank you so much
Of course. Thank you.
for this interview. Um, yeah, I will leave the link to the School of Chi Energy in the description. And yeah, if you guys are interested, you guys could definitely join. So, okay. Well, thank you so much, John.
Thank you. Have a great one.